Good morning, students. So today we are going to revise the life cycle of angiosperms. And student, all of you know very well that different plant species, they are dominant in different eras. So in modern era, it is the age of angiosperms. That means whenever you see all around in your surroundings, you met with numerous species of flowering plants. So all of these species are angiosperms. So we commonly call them flowering plants. So today we are going to revise the life cycle of these fascinating plants known as angiosperms. Yes, students, in the habitat of the angiosperms, as I have already told you that they are the flowering plants. So whenever these plants, they reaches their reproductive stage, that means when their reproductive phase start, these plants generally bear flowers on their branches. So flower is the main reproductive part of these flowers. All of you know very well that in the life cycle of any plant species, we know about two types of phases. One is the vegetative phase and another is the reproductive phase. So vegetative phase is concerned with growth and development. And in reproductive phase, the particular plant species do reproduction, and for sake of this, the different type of sex organs, they are present in the plant species. So in case of angiosperms, when they reach their reproductive stage, what happens? A beautiful flower, it appears on the branches of these angiosperms. So flower is the reproductive part of the plant. And in angiosperms or flowering plants, the pollen grains, which are the male gametes, and the ovules, which actually later contains the female gametes or egg cells, they are developed in specialized structure called flowers. That is the male and the female sex organs. And male sex organ is stamen and female sex organ is pistil and carpel. Sometimes they are both present in the same flower, but sometimes they are present in one flower. That means some flowers are only the staminate flowers and some flowers are the pistillate flowers. You have also termed unisexual and bisexual conditions for these. Now, student, in angiosperms, the seeds, they are enclosed in fruits. As you have learned the life cycle of gymnosperms, in gymnosperms, the seeds are naked and exposed, but in case of angiosperms, these seeds, they are enclosed in fruits. They are not naked or exposed. And one very important thing about these plants is these plants, they are widespread in variety of habitats. That means they can easily grow in terrestrial condition, aquatic condition, and desert conditions or harsh climatic conditions. If we are talking about their range, then their range may vary from very small size to very large size, or you can say tall trees. So the Wolffia flower or Wolffia plant is a very small plant, whereas if we are talking about eucalyptus, then the height of the eucalyptus, it reaches to 100 meters. These angiosperms, they are broadly divided into two classes, dicotyledons and monocotyledons, depending upon how many cotyledons they cover the seeds. So if the seed has two cotyledons, then such type of seed is known as a dicot. And if a seed has one single cotyledon, then such type of seeds are known as monocot seeds. Yes, student, here the different type of angiospermic plants are visible on your screen. So all of these angiospermic plants, they have beautiful flowers during their reproductive phase. And these flowers are quite attractive because of their bright color. Because these angiosperms, they need pollinating agents for the process of pollination. And that is the transfer of the male gametes or pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of the flower so that fertilization takes place. So that's why they bear beautiful, attractive flowers in order to attract their pollinating agents, which may be insects in certain species. And these insects, they visit these flowers because of their beautiful colors, nectars. And in this way, they play a significant role in fertilization. A student, among the dicot plants, the dicot plants have seeds having two cotyledons. And if you see their leaves, then their leaves have reticulate venation. That means there is a main vein, which is known as the midrib. And from this midrib, so many secondary and tertiary veins arises. And all of these, they later form the reticulate venation or network of veins. And if we see their flowers, then their flowers may be tetramerous or pentamerous. That means the sepals or petals, they are arranged in the form of floral whorls, and these sepals may be in the number of 4 or maybe in the number of 5. If we are here learning about the characters of the monocots, then these monocots have single cotyledons, and the single cotyledon of monocot is known as a scutum. And the hair seeds, they are covered by a single cotyledon. Parallel venation is seen in case of leaves. That means there is no main vein. All the veins, they look alike. And all of these are arranged in a parallel fashion. And trimerous flowers are present. That means the sepals and petals, they are arranged in floral whorls in the number of 3. Student, this diagram is very much familiar to you because you have learned it in your previous classes. So it is the typical structure of a flower, which shows the different types of sex organs of the flower. So male sex organ here is known as a stamen, and it has 2 parts. The bilobed structure is known as anther, and the cylindrical stalk-like structure is known as filament. If we are talking about the female reproductive part, then this entire part or structure is known as female reproductive part, having 3 components: stigma, style, and ovary. The stigma is the topmost receptive part where pollen grains falls and later form polar tube. The style is the part which connects the stigma with the ovary, and ovary is the basal part which is swollen and having a chamber known as ovarian chamber. Inside this chamber, placenta is present, which is a tissue, and attached with this placenta, numerous ovules are there. In flowers, green color leaves are there, and these green color leaves are known as sepals, and group of sepals are known as a calyx. And the beautiful large leaves, they are known as petals, and the group of petals is known as a corolla. Okay, student, beside these, in flowering plants, well differentiated, well developed, vascular tissues are also there, and these are xylem and phloem. Xylem conducts water and minerals for the plant, and phloem conducts food for the plant. And during a particular stage of their life cycle, these angiosperms, they do the process of secondary growth, which is wood formation. So mostly in 1 year, 2 times wood formation or secondary growth takes place. As a result, the trunk of the tree, it becomes more and more thicker every year. Yes, student, now we are going to tell you in detail about the structure of the stamen. So male sex organ in a flower is called as stamen, and each stamen, it consists of a cylindrical filament, which is a stalk-like part and having a bilobed anther at its tip. So when you see inside this anther, what is visible to you? The pollen mother cells. So these pollen mother cells, they undergo the process of meiosis, and after meiosis, they form microspores or pollen grains. So here not a single unit of microspore is formed, whereas 4 microspores, they are attached with each other. So sometimes we called these pollen grains as pollen tetrads, but later when dehydration of water takes place from these pollen grains, then the 4 groups of these pollen grains, they get detached from each other, and each single unit is known as a microspore or a pollen grain. So here when we take the transfer section of these pollen grains, what you see, Initially, the anther is a bilobed structure, but when we take the transverse section, we cut the anther from the middle in a transverse manner. What you see that anther, it has a tetralobed, and each of these lobe of anther, it is known as a pollen sac. These pollen sacs are initially shallow pocket-like structure, but later they becomes deepens and they are filled with the pollen grains by meiosis in the microspore mother cells. So many pollen grains they are formed in these pocket-like structures, which are known as pollen sacs. A student, the female reproductive organs is known as pistil or carpel, and this pistil, it consists of three components: stigma, style, and ovary. So ovary is the basal swollen part having ovarian chamber, and inside the ovarian chamber placenta tissue is there, and with the placenta so many ovules are arranged. So the attachment of the ovules on the placenta or arrangement of the ovules on the placenta is known as placentation. Then next to the ovary, a cylindrical stalk-like structure is there, which continues from the ovary in upward direction, and that is known as style. And at the tip of the style, stigma is present, and this stigma is a receptive portion, which is always waiting for the fall of the pollen grains, the male gametes. Yes, student, each ovule, it develops from has a megaspore mother cells. So what he said that inside the ovule, so many cells are present, and some of the cells of the special tissue known as nucellus, they behave as megaspore mother cell, and these megaspore mother cell, they undergoes a meiosis and they form 4 haploid megaspores. Now what happened? Out of these 4 haploid megaspores, 3 megaspores they degenerate, and the 1 megaspore it remains survive, and this surviving megaspore it later form the female gametophyte, and that is known as the embryo sac. So when you see inside this embryo sac, the nucleus of this embryo sac it divides 3 times and formed 8 nucleus. So 2 of the nucleus it goes towards the bottom side and form the egg apparatus, having the egg cell in the center surrounded by 2 synergids, and 3 of the cell it moves towards the upward direction of the embryo sac, and they are known as antipodal cells. But 2 of the nuclei they remains in the center, and they are known as polar nuclei. Now what happened? The polar nuclei they eventually fuse together and they produce a diploid secondary nucleus having a double number of chromosomes. A student, here the structure of the female reproductive organ pistil is visible on your screen, having 3 components: stigma, style, and ovary. And here I have shown you the typical structure of a flower having anther, filaments, then petals, colorful leaves are there, then sepals, green leaves are there, and then the pistil is there having stigma, style, and ovary. Inside the ovary, placenta is there, and attached with the placenta are the ovules. Okay, student, pollen grains when they are formed inside the anther and they get mature, then what happened? The dehiscence of the wall of anther takes place. That means the breakdown of the anther wall, and these pollen grains they are dispersed. And these pollen grains they are carried by this wind, insect, animals, bats, etc. So what is the agent that carries the pollen grains? On the basis of that, we have different type of pollination. If the pollen grains they are carried by wind, the type of pollination is known as anemophily. And if the pollen grains they reach the female flower with the help of water, then such type of pollination it is known as hydrophily. And if the insects they are the carriers of the pollen grains, they help in transport of pollen grains, then such type of pollination it is known as entomophily. But if pollination is done with the help of bats, then such type of pollination is known as ornithophily. Okay, student, next is these pollen grains when they reaches the stigma of the flower, they germinate on the stigma, and as a result, pollen tube is formed. And this pollen tube, it finally grows through the style and reaches the ovule. And this pollen tube, it penetrates the ovule, it enters into the embryo sac. It also penetrates the embryo sac and discharges the two male gametes inside the embryo sac. Now what happened? One of the male gamete, it moves towards the egg cell, fuses with the egg cell and form a diploid structure known as a zygote, and this process is known as a syngamy. Student, here I have shown you the diagram of the process of double fertilization. So when the pollen grains, they fall on the stigma, they germinate, they form the pollen tube. And this long pollen tube carrying two male gametes, they penetrate the ovule and the embryo sac at the micropylar end and discharge the two male gametes within the embryo sac. And you well know that inside the embryo sac, how many nuclei are there? 8 nuclei are there. So two male gametes, one of the male gametes, it moves towards the egg apparatus and comes in contact with the egg cell, fuses with the egg cell and form diploid zygote, and this process is known as a syngamy. Whereas the other male gamete, it fuses with these two polar nuclei which are present in the center. And I have already discussed that these polar nuclei, two polar nuclei, they later fuse together to form the secondary nucleus. So the secondary nucleus is a 2N and this other male gamete is also 1N. So as a result, a triploid structure is formed, which is known as primary endosperm nucleus or PEN. And later this primary endosperm nucleus, it undergoes certain divisions and form the endosperm tissue, which is the nutritive tissue, and it makes assurance for the for nutrition of the developing embryo, which later develops from the zygote. Yes, student, here I have written because there is occurrence of two fusions. That's why this event is known as double fertilization, because first male gamete fuses with egg cell and forms zygote, whereas other male gamete fuses with diploid secondary nucleus, that is primary endosperm, diploid secondary nucleus and form primary endosperm nucleus. So in this way, the fusion takes place twice. That's why the process is known as double fertilization. So always remember this, double fertilization is a unique event to angiosperms. It is not seen in any other class of plants. Okay, student, now after fertilization, what happens? The zygote develops into embryo and the primary endosperm nucleus develops into the endosperm tissue, which provides nourishment to the developing embryo. And what about synergids and antipodals? So these synergids and antipodals, they degenerate after fertilization. And during these events, the ovules, they develop into the seeds and the ovaries, they develop into fruits. So that is the main thing, that these seeds, which are actually the ovules, they are covered by fruits or the wall of the ovary. That's why angiosperms have seeds which are covered with the help of a fruit. Okay, student, here I have shown you the life cycle of the angiosperms. So this is a typical flower. Then the flower has male and female sex organ. Then anthers contain pollen grains, male gametes. And inside the female reproductive organ, ovary is there, and inside the ovary, ovule is there. Inside the ovule, embryo sac is there, which contains eggs. Then the other stages I have already discussed with you. And later on, the seed is formed, which is actually the ovule. It is enclosed by a fruit or ovary, because you know that a ripened ovary is known as fruit. So what is present inside the fruit? Seed is present, and inside the seed, embryo is present. So when the seed gets sufficient amount of moisture and oxygen, they later germinate, and in this way, a miniature plant is formed. Yes, student, that's all in today's lecture. I'm quite hopeful that the chapter is very much clear to you. If still you have any doubts, please send me your doubts and revise your chapter properly. That's all in today's lecture, student. So tomorrow we will discuss some other chapter. So have a nice day. Thank you.